It's a popular discussion going on right now, and it's like, do the rich pay enough taxes? Do the rich pay their fair share in taxes? You got hundreds of millions of Americans that don't make, that much money, paying a lot of freaking income tax, a lot of other forms of taxes. Then you kind of find out that millionaires somehow finagle their way around an LLC and with stocks and this, that, and the third, and then they end up paying like almost nothing in income tax. And you're like, well, you make billion dollars or whatever it is, and I'm almost paying more than you. It's like, wouldn't our community, our society be better if you paid your fair share in taxes? Let's try to discuss that. Let's try to figure out, see if that's true. We could even bring up LeBron James. So LeBron James makes millions of dollars. He's basically in a Nike deal that's worth about $1 billion for his whole lifetime. So he's probably worth about $1 billion. And people kind of hate LeBron James. He's very vocal right now with the whole social justice and everything that's going on, police and all that woke stuff. LeBron's very woke, and a lot of things he says, he'll post something on Twitter and then have to delete it because he doesn't really know what he's talking about. So you gotta hold LeBron a little accountable for some of the dumb stuff he says. But when we're talking about money and finances, he is in the NBA. I'm sure he does pay a lot of tax. Right? I'm sure he does actually pay a lot of tax because he gets like this flat income from a company. So it's going to be hard to kind of allocate that money in like different businesses and try to hide that money the way like real high level businessmen will. So I'm sure LeBron actually pays quite a lot of tax compared to the average, rich American that, tries to beat taxes. But people like hate on LeBron like he's a millionaire. He's like, well, LeBron started a school, right? It probably cost millions of dollars. LeBron's, owns cars that probably cost millions of dollars and like at least hundreds of thousands of dollars. He has watches. Not that watches are worth that money, but it's like if LeBron buys $100,000, let's just realistic. LeBron buys $100,000 watch, right? This watch is $200. Got my heart rate, got everything on here. Okay, you buy $100,000 watch. $100,000, kind of in a way, somehow, a little bit of it goes into the world economy, right? It does kind of go back into the U.S. and world economy, and that's a lot of money. That is a lot of money, and the average American doesn't even make $100,000 in a year, and they're probably not spending $100,000 a year. So it's a little ignorant to attack some of these rich people for maybe not paying this or getting paid all this money. And well, dude, this guy bought a watch for $100,000. Your house is worth $300,000. You haven't even paid $100,000 into your house yet. So it's like that's a little ignorant. That's a little ignorant, and I think sometimes rich people kind of get blown off, like they don't pay anything, they don't do anything. It's like, well, the tax laws are incentivized for you to make a lot of money, use the tax laws the way the government wants you, and then they're still going to get money off of different payments. Like if you're a big business, like let's say Amazon, let's talk about Amazon. And I know Amazon's like a little too big to compare to other businesses, but let's just think about like how many Sprinter vans that they buy for deliveries, for people to deliver packages in these Sprinter vans. You have hundreds of thousands of vehicles. You have millions of dollars worth of Sprinter vans. Like the businesses always kind of do it weird, but they basically purchased millions of dollars worth of Sprinter vans from Ford, Dodge, American-made companies. Sometimes, Mercedes, but a lot of them are Ford and Dodge, American-made companies. You spend $1 billion on just Sprinter vans. Yeah, you get $100 million worth of tax write-offs and stuff you got all these different tax write-offs. But at the end of the day, the average person is not putting in $1 billion worth of Sprinter van purchases into the economy. So again, you gotta Jeff Bezos maybe didn't pay any taxes for Amazon, but he bought $1 billion worth of vehicles. So it's like that is booming the economy. And I think that is something that I just don't think people are having that conversation. And I'm not some genius. I don't know that much about finances. But it's a little unfair that rich people kind of get this stick of like, yo, you guys pay nothing for taxes. You guys don't do anything. I pay $30,000 a year in income tax. It's like, well, Jeff Bezos bought $1 billion worth of cars this year. And you got people, then also they give out jobs, right? How many people do you know works for Amazon? They have healthcare, benefits. They pay for their family, their house, their food, their phone, their cars by working at Amazon. So now Amazon is providing income and jobs to the community and to society. So that's kind of where the rich people, they kind of win, right? bring a lot to society, and then people are like, oh, well, tax the rich. You're like, you don't pay any tax. It's like, well, I mean, the tax law is written for them to not write tax, so then they spend money in other ways, right? So I don't know. Would they spend less money, and they probably wouldn't be as successful of a company if they had to pay this huge amount of tax? And there is an argument that our society and our country, and maybe our world, maybe, but our society and our country would run better off if rich people paid their fair share of taxes. But again, they're paying their fair share of putting it into the business and then putting it into the US and world economy. So it is a complicated conversation, honestly. I don't know. Let me just give you this for perspective. So a lot of people say rich people do not pay taxes, and they're beating taxes and they're committing tax fraud. And some people do. You see a lot of actors get busted for tax fraud, and a lot of famous people and celebrities get busted for tax fraud. But overall, the tax law is written a certain way that incentivizes certain business opportunities, I guess you could say, that incentivizes certain things that the government wants you to put into the economy and help you grow the economy. And if you do that, you have tax advantages. Let's say perspective again. Let's use an example. If I am now owning an apartment complex, or a multi-living house, like a house that has multiple families that can live in it, a multi-family house. I am now, in certain aspects, I have tax advantages because I'm helping the citizens of America live in housing. They're finding housing. I'm providing housing to citizens of America. So now the government is happy about that. And they're like, oh, wow, Luke, you're providing housing for citizens? That's really great. Now we're going to be able to help you with certain tax advantages and write off this and write off that, create a business, and you can, all these different things. It gets really complicated. It can get really hairy, and depending what business you use, depending how you leverage the tax law and what tax law you plan on leveraging is all up for debate and up for conversation, and it gets really complicated and really gets in depth. But again, realistically, if you're not providing housing for, let's say, 10 Americans, 50 Americans, 100 Americans, and somebody is, and they're able to write that off in their taxes in a certain way and then get tax advantages and get money back, so then maybe they can invest more in real estate and put more families and Americans in houses. The government wants that, so they obviously are going to have tax advantages. And when you pursue those businesses, you're going to have more tax advantages, and it's going to look as if maybe you don't pay your fair share of taxes, but you kind of are paying your fair share of taxes. It's just the business that you're in is incentivized with less taxes. So it gets really complicated, it gets really hairy, but at the end of the day, the government wants specific parts of our economy to grow in a certain way, and they incentivize that growth with tax advantages for people like me and you. And that is a great argument for capitalism. Like, the average person can read the tax law, understand where they can save money in taxes, and pursue those businesses, right? And that's true. I don't know. It's really up for debate. That's really all I have. Smash the like button, subscribe. Vlogmas day. I think it's day 11. What day is it? Vlogmas day 11. 25 days of Christmas. We're going strong. But check out my podcast, link in the description. Tax the rich, or did maybe I change your mind? Did I open your mind? Did you already know this? Let me know in the comments. What do you think? Deuces.